I think it's a myth that as we age or as relationships get long term, that it's just supposed to be this way. I think that that is a myth. I think that it is reality that connection and intimacy and sex change over time.
Mhm.
That's natural and typical. But I think that there's so much that we can do if we want to keep the spark alive, if we want to increase our desire for sex, if we want to have better sex and connection. There's a ton of stuff that you can do. You don't have to just settle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Love, Laughs, and Lessons. And I'm Dr. Frankie.
And I'm Denise Ray. And today's guest is Sky Blue Kutchie, a certified relationship, intimacy, and sex therapist who has spent more than 7 years helping women, femmes, and couples create deeper connection so they can have better sex. She works with clients to increase libido without medication or hormones and to discover pleasure in their bodies, both in and out of the bedroom. What makes her work so powerful is the transformation she gets to witness with women reclaiming their erotic selves, speaking their desires out loud, and finally enjoying intimacy again. She proudly calls herself a pleasure advocate, guided by the motto, "Life is too short for bad sex." Her approach comes from personal experience, and like many women, she once found herself stuck in a cycle of low desire, guilt, and the pressure to fix herself. Through her own journey of healing and unlearning the shame and silence around intimacy, she discovered that real desire starts with reconnecting to yourself. Now she helps others do the same, and it's freeing them from pressure to perform and empowering them to embrace pleasure without guilt. Sky Blue, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice intro. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing the work that you do. This is so needed. So needed.
Yeah.
You're so welcome.
I love that. Life is too short for bad sex.
Yeah. And my guess is that you found yourself pursuing this career because you yourself were dealing with maybe some difficulties around it. Is that, I mean, a lot of us who serve in this way, experiencing difficulties ourselves, including me in my area of expertise, that kind of pushed me to learn more and then figure out how to give back. So I'm just so curious. What's your story?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was always interested in like sexuality. Even way back in my first year of university, I took like my first psych of sexuality course. And I was so excited. I was like, this is amazing. And it was so cool. And then I realized I wanted to be a therapist. And then I realized that you could be a sex therapist. And I was like, whoa, that's like perfect for me. Um, and then recently, over the last couple of years, I started to really focus on supporting women and femmes, increasing desire for sex, and like prioritizing their own pleasure. And partly because that's my story too. You know, I've experienced having a really low libido and thinking like, oh, is it my hormones? And sometimes it is hormones for sure. But there's a lot of things that affect libido that has nothing to do with hormones. So that is my new journey right now, and I'm supporting people with that.
So tell us, what is affecting our libido? I'm thinking, is it nutrition? Is it stress? What are the main things that people should be aware of that are contributing to their decreased libido?
Yeah. I mean, it could be nutrition. Like if you're not taking care of your body, if your body isn't feeling great, that can totally affect like how sexy you feel or how much energy you might have to give to sex and intimacy. That is definitely not my focus, but I would say stress has a huge impact
Mhm.
on libido. Like if our nervous systems are on fire, that's what I like to call it. If you're constantly stressed out and exhausted and feeling tapped out, then sex and intimacy can just feel like another chore. It doesn't feel like something that it that fills up your cup.
And I think also pain, right? Physical pain. If someone's like, I deal with lower back pain, that's pretty chronic.
Yeah,
I think that probably contributes, right? To
absolutely. feeling pain, chronic pain, like it's hard to get into the mood if you're feeling pain or if you're having painful sex too, like
Mhm.
then why would you want to have more of that, right?
Yeah.
That can affect libido, connection in relationships, emotional and physical connection that can affect your libido, or for a lot of women and femmes, having bad sex is like if you're not enjoying the type of sex and intimacy that you're having, why would you want more of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you seeing in your office? Like mainly, what are the complaints that folks are coming in with?
Um, in the couples and relationships, I would say a lack of emotional connection
Mm.
seems to be a big theme.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the female or the femme person is saying, I don't feel seen, I'm not feeling heard, I feel disconnected, but my partner wants more sex from me and I just like I don't feel into it. I don't feel open to it. That's probably one of the major themes right now.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people think that that's the natural cycle of things, like as we age, that, it's supposed to happen this way. As we age, we shouldn't be wanting sex. The narrative is that it decreases as we age, or if we're stressed out, we shouldn't want to participate if the relationship is bad, like all of these things, you know. But it sounds like what you're saying that is that all of this can be fixed or corrected. Well, not fixed. Let's pull that back, those words. But
Yeah.
they can be corrected and adjusted or adapted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a myth that as we age or as relationships get long term, that it's just supposed to be this way. I think that that is a myth. I think that it is reality that connection and intimacy and sex change over time.
Mhm.
That's natural and typical. But I think that there's so much that we can do if we want to keep the spark alive, if we want to increase our desire for sex, if we want to have better sex and connection. There's a ton of stuff that you can do. You don't have to just settle.
And I think it's pretty normal to have varying degrees of desire and attraction to your partner over the course of a relationship. There's this like idea that we are supposed to feel attracted to our partner and desire sex all the time, like regularly, and that there's something wrong with us or there's something wrong with the relationship if we don't. And in actuality, what I see is that there are plenty of couples that I've worked with over the years that are happy together, have a lot of joy in their relationship, feel very safe in their relationship, and can actually say that, yeah, it goes in and out. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And it sort of, it normalizes that. So you don't feel like there's something wrong with you or the relationship. You don't go into like panic mode where you have to change something necessarily.
Mhm. That's totally true. I think there's an ebb and a flow, like life context or changes in your body or natural aging or, like the attractiveness of your partner. And I'm not just talking about like physical, but like emotional, intellectual, spiritual attractiveness that can ebb and flow. And all of that might affect like the quality or frequency of sex and intimacy in a relationship. And that's totally like part of the human experience, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's really important, I think, for people to take in and recognize that doesn't just because there's a decrease in those areas doesn't mean that there's necessarily something wrong, something that has to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. It doesn't mean anything is broken.
Hmm.
If you want to be experiencing something different, though, like maybe there's things that you could try, but it doesn't mean anything's broken.
So would you say the first step in that would be to communicate? Like even just be curious?
Yes, I think that's one of the first steps. When I work with couples and relationships, I have a specific communication model that I teach folks, and it helps them like stay steady and be able to have hard conversations about like what's not working or I want this more or, hearing hard things, right? But if we can communicate better about what we want, don't want, get curious, it makes things a lot easier to explore.
I think also it's easy to get defensive and think that there's like getting curious can bring up in somebody else if they're not aware that it's just a curiosity that maybe there's something wrong
Mhm.
and they feel like, oh no, what am I doing wrong?
Like a
You know,
complaint as
it's a
opposed to,
complaint.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a normal human reaction. But if we get defensiveness and we put up walls and barriers because we're trying to protect ourselves, we're shutting down any sort of connection
Mhm.
and any chance of like understanding what our partner is trying to tell us. It's
Yeah.
just going to get in the way.
So I think if we haven't done a decent amount of work on ourselves and understand that defensiveness is really just like our normal as a human being reaction to feeling like you're being criticized or told that there's something wrong. I always tell clients like it's okay to have that reaction sometimes and then just be like, wait a minute, actually, I'm realizing I'm being defensive right now and I really care and I want to be curious. So let me backtrack or let's reset because we're human, right? It's like a reflex, I think, for people who have not actively been working on being curious, staying curious, and slowing down their natural response to criticism.
Totally. I love that approach. And that's something that I, teach folks often, especially when I'm working with couples and relationships, is like how to deal with the hard feelings when they come up
Mhm.
so that you can keep the connection, keep talking, keep exploring, so that you can like move towards whatever it is you want to move towards.
And then so how do we know we're having bad sex, right? Because there's the sex that we think we're having, and then there's the sex that we're actually having, right? So how do you know that if it's not fulfilling, you know? I think for some people there's this obligation. If I'm doing it, it's okay. So then I would say wakens the genie to let you know, okay, it could be better than just okay. It could be fantastic.
Yeah. I would say like, are you enjoying it? Does it feel pleasurable to you? Or is it just like, meh,
Hmm.
I could give or take. I don't care.
Take it or leave it.
I think that a lot of women and femmes might say, or I've heard them say things like, I don't need it anymore. I don't want it anymore. Which, by the way, if that is your choice, that's totally fine. And I think some women and femmes might say those types of things because they're just having meh sex and it's not really for them and it hasn't been about them and their sense of pleasure and enjoyment or excitement. And so I would just get really honest with yourself. Like, are you excited about it? Is it something to look forward to?
You frequently say women and femmes. And what you're referring to, give it, I just want some clarity and to understand. It,
Yeah. So I was just trying to be a little more inclusive in my words. Um, like gender is a wide variety of people. So women can be like women who were born as a woman, and then there's folks who might live in a more female body type, but they don't necessarily identify as a woman and they call themselves a femme.
Mhm.
That's what I mean.
Got it. Okay. And you primarily work with women.
I focus working with women, but I also say femme. I identify as a femme. I kind of bounce between woman, and femme. So it's kind of like on the LGBTQIA spectrum.
Got it. Okay. So would you not work with somebody who identifies as a butch?
I would say I would work with that person.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Okay. So I have I have just a question. I wonder what you think about this, because you work with folks who are experiencing maybe some libido issues or desire issues, or they're thinking maybe it's an issue because society tells us
Mhm.
if we don't want it, then there must be something wrong with us. What are your thoughts on gray sexuality, asexuality, and that range? And even, do you believe it exists? Is there a range? Maybe your thoughts.
Worse, of course it exists. Yeah, I believe that people can identify however they want to identify, and if that's their experience, then it's real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was asexual for a while. I just had no desire at all. Couple of years.
And
Right.
would you say that was like related to things that were going on in your life, like environmental?
I just wasn't interested. It was so bizarre. And I tried to figure out, of course, right? I'm always trying to figure something out. I was trying to figure out why.
Thing.
It's a good thing, right? Why I was not wanting to have sex, not even masturbation, nothing. I just, was just kind of totally, I was okay. And then, I think it could possibly have been diet related because I went on a juice fast and everything came back. So I don't know if it was related to that, or maybe just feeling bogged down, or maybe just that time in my life. But yeah, I just went on a juice fast and I just felt differently. So when you were saying earlier nutrition, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also hormonally, right? That in.
Mhm. There's so many things that can affect libido. I call libido fickle because it's like so many factors that could affect it.
Moving target.
It's a moving target. And yeah, I think that, however, back to the sexuality or the gender thing, like, um, I believe that people's identities can shift over time. For some people, they never shift, but for some people, they shift over time, and that's also totally normal.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about sexual fluidity. I did a TED talk on it. It's a thing. There's a range
Yeah.
in most ways when it comes to humankind, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's so important. I mean, we think very much on this binary in our society. And I think that it leads us to, believe that there's something wrong with us. And just because you don't fit into the norm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a coaching business, but I also have a therapy business. In my sex therapy business, one of my specialties is working with folks on the LGBTQIA spectrum. So it's a big part of what I do, and I try to be inclusive.
Yeah. So how would you say that that's different? The fact that you work with that population specifically, how do you approach it differently from, working with heterosexuals, for example?
I think it has a lot to do with language. At least that's how I approach it. Like I try to be more expansive in my language, and I think it has so much to do with like not being non-judgmental, just like accepting people's experiences as truth and just like holding space for that and just letting people like live their best life.
And do you feel like they're dealing with different challenges sexually that you see?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, of course. There's like different kinds of sex that people have depending on people's different body types or stereotypes, or are they using toys or are they not using toys, so it's like this very wide range of interesting things that we get to explore.
And it sounds like it's important for them to really feel like this is a safe space, and you are right. Like, we work with the LGBTQ plus community. I think what differentiates us most significantly is the fact that we're well versed. Like, we know the community, we understand what's important to them, And first and foremost, it's like creating a safe space.
100%. Safety is number one. Yeah, like I think for any coach or therapist, like creating that safety with a person is the number one thing to help them and to support them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Hmm.
And I think sex and intimacy, and it's just, for most folks, I think, I would say in my generation and maybe even the younger folks too, I wonder your thoughts on this, Gen Z, and think about millennials. But in my house, it was like my mom was the most sex positive of all the moms in my friend group. Like, right, Denise too, like showed up with penis cookies. So like I was of course mortified. And then, I broke into her filing cabinet and found dildos. And I was like, whoa, what? And she was going to like nudist parties. So back then in the 80s and 90s, it was like my mom was really progressive and cool.
Yeah.
But the level, I was missing out on a lot of information regarding just the ins and outs about a lot of it. I think that a lot of it was overlooked, and it still was really uncomfortable to talk about it. And there was a lot of judgment she was judged by her peers, other parents that were like, wow, you're already talking to Frankie about sex, and she's so, like, she's 8. All the books with the illustrations, My daughter had a play date with your daughter, and I heard they were looking at I forgot the name of the book at the time that was really amazing. It had beautiful illustrations.
Mhm.
And I didn't appreciate my daughter having exposure at such a young age, like this kind of thing. So I just wonder I hope that it's better now, but I get the sense that in my own practice that it's actually not much better in terms of, younger folks really getting honest information about their bodies, about how to receive pleasure, about how to give pleasure. Because now we've got porn in every corner, so easily accessible for us. Denise and I, right? We had to sneak it.
Right. And it was a comic book. There was like no porn. Do you remember there being porn? It was like comic books of illustrations of porn. Like I never saw any, like the stuff that's out there now, I never saw that at all. But I do remember that my mom and my dad, in that locked box underneath the bed, there were these comic books along with their, toys. At the time, I didn't know they were toys. For me, it was a car.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Different kind of toy.
Different kind of toy, right?
Yeah. So what are your, Sky Blue, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like if you work with a younger population as well, do you feel like they're more open, more curious, less judgmental, more aware coming into your office?
That's an interesting question. So I think, like you're saying, there's way more information out there, right? There's the internet, and you can search whatever you want. There's also confusion around pornography because a lot of kids are using it as educational.
Terrible.
It's not, right? It's entertainment.
Yes.
But I think, here in America, at least, our sex education system is just awful and is still not giving kids what they need to be educated, to be safe, to feel empowered, and all that jazz. So I see a mix. I see people with they have more knowledge, but they still have a lot of shame. There's still a lot of shame. Or they have more words, more vocabulary to describe sexual orientation, gender orientation, sex stuff, kink stuff. But there's still a lot of lack of education, knowledge, lack of safety, and a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think back then, when I think back to the 90s, it was there were swingers, but people weren't openly talking about exploring ethical non-monogamy or polyamory. It was just, you would, some people would be swinging and they would go to sex clubs. That was what was in my awareness. And now, especially in the LGBTQ plus community, there is a lot of like conversation and curiosity around less traditional relationships.
Mm-hmm. A lot more. I'm in the Seattle, Washington area, so there's a really big population of the ethical non-monogamy folks here, and I see quite a few of them in my practice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's more in that way. There's more of an openness to exploring less traditional types of relationships. But when they get into those relationships, having the tools and the skills to navigate, being with more than one partner at the same time, it's difficult enough being with one person and communicating enough, let alone multiple partners.
It is, and I think that folks, they get excited about the idea, but then they don't they don't prepare. They're not like, "Oh, well, I should learn about it. I should educate myself. I should know more about this." They kind of jump in head first. And usually they come to me when things catch fire, because they didn't like learn more about communication or like regulating their own emotions and jealousy and all that fun stuff.
And what usually catches fire? What do you see when people get into crisis when they're having relationships with multiple partners?
I think two of the common things that I see is people, like I said, like they didn't realize it would be so difficult and there would be so many feelings, so many triggers, a lot of jealousy, because they're coming from a model of monogamy, right? There's a lot of unpacking that folks can do, and they don't do that first most of the time.
Right. Well, they may not even realize there's so much that's programmed into our brains that we're not even conscious of.
Yeah, totally. You don't even realize that that's probably things that you could do to prepare for E&M. And then the other one is, I think folks, like, there's been some infidelity and cheating, and then they're like, okay, well, let's try an open relationship to try to save this relationship.
Yes.
And they try, and it's not the fix that they were hoping it would be.
So is it like there's a symptom that is not being, like, that doesn't solve the problem? There's a symptom there that needs to be addressed, and they're thinking a solution would be just to agree to be with other people. So what often is that problem at the core?
There's a lot of things, but commonly like lack of communication, like desire discrepancy. So like people wanting different types of sex or different like frequencies of sex, but they're not talking about that. They're not trying to kind of unpack what's going on there and heal what's going on. They're just like, well, let's look outwards.
Like somebody who has a high libido and somebody's matched with a low libido. The person with the high libido is then given permission to satisfy themselves outside the relationship, this kind of thing.
Sure, that's a common thing, and sometimes it does work. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes people have a great success, but I think there's more people who struggle with that.
Yeah. I see the challenge being like a lot of like trust issues and feeling threatened, the fear of abandonment, because naturally humans struggle with the fear of abandonment and the fear of engulfment, of losing themselves. So like when you think about somebody who's opening up their relationship where there's this like potential threat, external threats, you got to be a pretty confident, comfortable, secure, individual. I couldn't do it. I work with plenty of people throughout the years that are in open relationships, and some that do it really well. And I applaud them. I'm just like, my eyes wide open. I'm so amazed and appreciative of how mindful and considerate they are of another. That's what stands out to me. It's just the level of care and consideration and trust at the forefront. It's remarkable. I can do it. Not that I don't have all those things in relationship. I do. that I tend to be jealous, or I certainly can think that, oh, well, my partner may fall in love with someone in those times when we're feeling less connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so hard. It is difficult. I'm not gonna lie. There's been periods where my relationship has gone, back and forth.
Like open to close kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Open to monogamous.
Mm-hmm.
And there's pros and cons to both, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think living in a society here in America where it's monogamy focused, like that's on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many messages that have been ingrained in us and in me, like ownership of a partner,
Yes.
or like jealousy is like expected and encouraged. Protection. There's a specific word I'm looking for that I can't think of right now.
Possessiveness.
Yeah. Possessiveness of a person. Those things will really get in your way if you're trying to do ethical non-monogamy.
Well, it's funny too, because those are the things that some people think means the person loves you, right? If they get
Right.
jealous, or if they,
Yeah, like if they don't get jealous, that's a sign that they really are
Don't
not that
care.
into you.
Yeah. It shows that they care.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's a normal emotion that we experience. And I think being able to state it and not feel like and not feel like something needs to change. It's just like there, right? We feel jealous. That is normal to have that feeling. Like there's fear around losing somebody potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a normal human emotion. But I think the challenge with it is that some people think if they haven't done their work, they might think this this person, my partner, is making me feel this way.
Mm.
They've done something wrong and they've harmed me, and so I feel jealous.
And I need to get
Right.
And
that back.
it's their fault.
Oh, retaliation.
Retaliation. Or
Yeah, it can get really messy.
Yeah, no thanks. I think life is hard already. I'm going to simplify it for myself, but there's no judgment. I'm always like, look, if we can make this work and I can support and serve, I'm in. I want this for you as a couple. But if there is all this toxicity and borderline abuse or even abuse emotionally, it's like, hold up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not good for anybody.
No.
So how do we have great sex?
I like it. Yeah, tell us, Sky Blue. Come on.
How do we
How do you have great sex?
I want to start now.
We're ready. I got my popcorn.
Yeah. How do you have great sex? Was that the question?
Yeah.
I mean, for everybody, it's totally different, right? Everyone has different likes and enjoys different things, and that's totally fine. But I think just getting in touch with what do I want is really important. And for a lot of women, female bodied people, that can be a really hard question because we've been socialized to not think about what we want.
You mean it's not like the big O?
Right.
Right?
It's
Like,
more than big O.
I think that's what people really focus on, the big O. I just want to orgasm, or I just want to get my partner to orgasm.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah, I think orgasms are fun, right? They feel great. But if we're saying good sex is only when we have a big orgasm, we're going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, because there's so much that can happen to the destination. And then sometimes the destination of an O doesn't necessarily happen.
That's right. Or
It
the
might-
buildup is better than the O.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have foreplay.
Totally. So that's the other thing is like, I encourage people to think about what does sex even mean?
Mm.
What does it even look like for you? Because I think most people think it's the O and the penetration. That's what sex looks like. And I think that there's so much more out there that could be sex, and whatever you want it to look like is okay. And does it feel really good to you? the foreplay, the lead up could be an orgasm, could be penetration, but maybe it doesn't have to be any of those things. Like great sex is, um, like moving your body, making fun sounds, and breathing a lot. Those are the three ingredients.
I think relaxing your body, like being mindful of just really, because we're so, a lot of times so tight, so tense. We don't even realize we're holding all this tension in our muscles and our bones in our body. So to be like mindful of, okay, let me, like when you said breathing, Sky Blue, it's totally resonated because I'm like, yeah, the exhaling and really just taking it all in and noticing your body's tension and releasing it can really allow you to have a bigger orgasm if that's, what ends up happening, or just even experiencing greater pleasure
Hmm.
in the process.
Totally. And I, way back when we started, I was saying if your nervous system is on fire, it's going to be really hard to have good sex
Mm-hmm.
or just intimacy and connection in general, because our arousal nerves actually live in the part of our nervous system that exists when we're relaxed and chill. So we need to do lots of self-care, whatever that means to you, to help your nervous system relax, complete the circle of stress cycle, to be able to receive the goodness, the pleasure, the joy, the connection.
So I imagine like mindfulness and meditation are two practices that really could help
Totally.
you that get connected to your body more, and even somatic work, noticing where the tension lies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like focusing on, I'd like to say, focus on your five senses, which is like a mindfulness thing. When you're making out, or when you're hugging, or even just gazing at your partner, like really focusing on what you see, what you're feeling in your body, what you can taste, what you can hear. What am I missing one? Smell. What can you smell?
Mm-hmm.
All those senses will bring you into the moment.
That's
And
another thing. Being in
yeah,
the moment. I think we can drift in with intimacy because maybe it feels like too much, or maybe we've had trauma before and we kind of just can have a tendency to dissociate or disconnect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be able to come back, to connect to our senses, allows us to be, continue to return to the present.
absolutely. And if you do drift, that's totally fine. I think that's very human, right?
Just don't
So
drift to the grocery list.
Or the meetings for tomorrow. But I think if you drift, to be able to just be aware of that drifting and bring yourself back to presence. Because if the person you're with is really attuned to you and connected, they're going to notice that you've left.
yeah, it'll affect your connection. It'll affect how good you're feeling in the moment too. So being present helps a lot of different sexual challenges, and it will help you have better sex for sure. Is so if you get distracted and you drift, that's fine. Just come back. Like, oh, what am I feeling right now? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What do I see?
So do you give your clients, your couples homework, to take sex off the table and just like sensate focus kind of thing, where you're just focusing on intimacy, touch, like sensual touch, take the pressure off of this idea that you have to climax or you have to end up, with an intercourse for, or whatever their idea is, like that they have to, they're wanting to arrive at, whatever that is.
Yeah, certainly I give homework for sure. For every couple, it will look totally different. If there's a lot of pressure around penetrative sex, I will say I think you should take it off the table for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
just to take the pressure away, because it's killing the mood, it's killing desire, it's not helping anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't imagine that pressure is ever really helpful. I think it shuts you down, right?
Totally shuts you down.
So how do people tend to actually practice the homework that you send them home with? Do they actually do it? Because I know 90% of my clients don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we're going to do it now in the office because you don't do it when you leave here, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, I'd say 60% of the folks actually do
Good.
the homework, which is awesome. That tells me like they're here, they're leaning in, they're ready to do this work.
Mhm.
If folks have a hard time doing it outside of session, just like you all, if it's appropriate,
Yeah.
we'll do it in session.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Clients
Or-
aren't getting naked in my office.
Yeah. No thanks.
Well, I have referrals for that, right?
Yeah.
Like there are,
Other folks.
surrogates and things like that. Yeah. Which we've had on our podcast for sure, because they're necessary and needed at times.
I agree. Yeah, there's other professionals who do the naked stuff in
Yeah.
in the office. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So for our listeners that are like, okay, I want to have better sex and I don't even know where to start, what would you recommend?
I would say that's a big question, but what I recommend is like starting to work your what do I want muscle.
Mhm.
And that's, a voice inside that a lot of people have not practiced. And they just go with the flow and they do what their partner wants and they're not asking themselves what feels good to me, what would bring me joy. So starting to ask yourself that. If it feels intimidating to think about that in terms of sex stuff, you can start outside of the bedroom. Like in this moment, what would help me feel joyous, happy, relaxed, however you want to feel. And that could be anything you want it to be. Like I would love a bath. I'd love to read my book for a few minutes. I'd love to like hug my cat. Like and go do those things. And then as you get practiced in your what do I want muscle, start to think about what kind of touch would feel good to me. Where would that feel good to me on my body? Like what kind of connection do I want more like a emotional connection, spiritual connection? Do I want more fun? Do I want more play? And just like start to get really curious about your own what do I want muscle.
Mhm.
And
really
and it's practice.
So
Starts with you.
Yeah.
It starts with you. Mm-hmm.
It's not like thinking, well, I need to talk to my partner about what they need to change and do differently to support me.
That's right.
To support my better sex.
Sure. I think that could be like there's some relational stuff for sure, but you have to do this inner work
Yeah.
to feel more empowered, to feel more in control of what you want and more control over your sex life. It's not dependent on another person.
Yeah. So I'm hearing just like many things that are related to interpersonal struggles, it starts with you, right? To look at yourself first, get really well acquainted with yourself, and then consider what else might be contributing.
Oh, yes. I love what you just said. That's great. Yep.
Thanks. So Sky Blue, how can folks find you?
Right. Well, I have a website. It's intimacywithblue.com. And I also have a free community on Facebook. It's called Thriving Women in Relationships. And I have a free guide. It's 100 sexy things to explore your intimate desires. And it's like a safe way for you to like get curious about different ways to connect and be intimate. You can do it on your own or with a partner.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. Thanks, Denise.
Awesome. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll see you all next time. Kisses, hugs.
So long.